Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Disney Resorts podcast. My name is Kenny Hayes, and I am joined alongside, as always, by the one, the only, Walt Ramirez.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Ken. Good evening. How are you?
Good evening. How are you, good sir?
I'm doing well, thanks.
So, folks, in this week's episode, we are going to do part 2 of Let's Talk Saratoga. Then we are going to talk some dining options that we have explored in the past, located directly next to Saratoga Disney Springs. And then before we wrap up this week's episode, we are going to talk about an idea that Walter and I have been discussing lately, some late night experiences over at Epcot, something we would like to do if we had a say and we were in charge. Fortunately, we're not. But so it looks like we have a good show lined up. Stick around. So Walt, would you like to start us off with part 2 of Let's Talk Saratoga?
Sure. Be glad to. So I think we left off on our last episode talking about the different areas of the resort. One of them, which Ken and I both kind of enjoy besides Congress Park, is the paddock. The paddock is on the back end of Saratoga Springs. It's directly behind the main building there, where you would, in the past, check in. It's called the Springs. So in that area, in my opinion, it has the second best pool on property there, but my wife thinks it's the best pool on property, so we're going to have to say that it's the best pool on property.
I agree.
But Ken and I both enjoy it because it's substantially less crowded than the main pool. And it also does have, it has a slide, I believe.
Yeah, it's over. Yes. I should have looked it up actually before, but I did not. It's like 100-foot slide.
It's a pretty
really
long
cool
slide.
Yes,
and it has. We like the way the pool is laid out because it does have. It has the paddock grill, which we'll get into in a few minutes here. But it has an area that is covered, so you can. It's a shaded area. You can lay there. There's two or three rows. I think there's 2 rows of beach chairs there, and it's near the kiddie splash area,
yes.
Splash pool area. But it's a good area because in the event of one of those late afternoon deluge thunderstorms that Ken experienced on his last trip,
you can hide.
You can actually hang out there under cover and not get soaked and wait until the downpour stops. So it's one of the advantages of being in that pool area. But the paddock grill there is also an excellent option that you don't have to walk back to the main dining area or the main pool area to get something to eat. It's one of Ken's actually favorite burgers on property. Why don't you give us a little idea of that? That
is true. Each and every time I stay at Saratoga, no matter what section I stay in, and I've stayed in them all besides the Springs, is the paddock. Well, if you look on our menu now, it just says bacon cheeseburger. But when you go there, unless something changed since January, it's called the paddock burger. And it's a bacon cheeseburger, and it comes with Saratoga chips, which are basically just a deep fried chip.
Like
excellent,
a kettle chip.
Yes, like a kettle chip. Yes. I don't know if it's just because I'm at Saratoga and I'm at my favorite resort that it tastes that good. But it's funny because I have been in discussions before with people, whether it be on the internet or just talking with friends. It is probably one of my favorite burgers on property. I think it's a hidden gem. And like I said, it for me, it doesn't taste like your generic quick service Disney World bacon cheeseburger. To me, it doesn't. I don't know if they use that type of burger and they just put some kind of seasoning on it to make it taste better. Maybe they do. Whatever they do, it's excellent. So if you were staying in Saratoga, go to the Paddock Pool and get the Paddock Burger. I highly, highly recommend it. I will even say, though, Walt, I don't know if I ever told you, even when I stay on property and I'm not at Saratoga, at least 50% chance I am going to go to Saratoga just for the Paddock Burger.
So you make it a special trip in there.
Yes, we have.
Nothing wrong with that.
Now they do have too. Remember, they also have poolside service.
Yes.
They don't generally come around to you. Like when I was at Boardwalk a couple weeks ago, they actually had someone walking around and you could actually run a tab, which I personally loved. That was great. I was able to get food and I was able to get drinks. I never had to move from my chair. At Saratoga, unless something has changed, you'd have to go up to the Paddock Grill. You place your order. They give you a flag that clips to the back of your chair with a number. And then you take that flag with you, you attach it to your chair, and then they have a runner who will then, bring you whatever you ordered. But it's not like you can reorder. If you're going to reorder or whatever, you're going to have to go back up and place your order back at the counter. Which, okay,
Right.
fine. The Paddock Pool is not that big. So that's probably one of the reasons why. Where the main pool at Boardwalk is much larger, holds a lot more people. And I know we'll talk about that pool shortly. Do they have that service over at the High Rock Pool, Walt, the main pool at Saratoga? Or do you have to go up there and order as well?
No, they do have that service. Where
nice.
They do. At least they did when I was there the last time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know post-pandemic if any of that changed, but they did. The High Rocks pool is the main pool in the Springs. That pool also has a slide. But the pool is substantially busier than any of the other pools at Saratoga Springs. The pool itself is more geared towards, in my opinion, it's geared towards smaller children.
I agree.
And if you're looking for an area where they also have like a ping pong table there, there's I think a foosball table.
Yes.
And so there's other things there to do to keep kids busy or entertained besides just the pool.
You have the arcade directly behind them as well.
Yes, and the arcade as well. Yep, absolutely. So that pool bar, I believe, does not have a full service menu, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not quite sure. The only time I've never eaten at that one, I have what you said in our last episode is that in your tradition, you like to grab breakfast at Artist Palette and go down and sit down by the bar.
Yes,
which years ago I did once with you.
That's correct. The drinks at the pool they're all pretty much similar, but I did find that pool bar actually has bartenders that are actually mixing your drinks, whereas at the Paddock pool bar, most of the drinks are already pre-mixed, depending on which ones you're getting. If you're getting something off the menu, it's pre-mixed. If you're getting just hard liquor, then obviously it's not. But I did find that the pool bar at On the Rocks pool bar there at the main pool is slightly different than the Paddock in terms of the pool bar area. The proximity to the Artist Palette is so close that I would assume that you probably could just run up and get something to eat and just bring it down to the pool. The other pool at Saratoga Springs that we haven't touched on is the grandstand pool. Now, the grandstand pool has like horse water cannons for the kids to play, and it's more geared towards, I guess, like the horse theming of yes. Saratoga. It also has a pool bar that when I was there last was closed But Ken, I think you pulled up some information on that it
Yes.
perhaps has reopened.
Yes, according to their on the Disney app, the backstretch pool is open. The backstretch pool bar is open. I have not. I've stayed, like I told you, Walt. I've stayed in 4 out of the 5 areas. I stayed in grandstand, where backstretch bar is located. I've stayed in the paddock. Stayed in Congress Hall. I have not stayed at the Springs. That's the only one, excluding the Treehouse Villas.
Okay.
One thing I will say, and actually get real quick, the grandstand. I never used the pool at the grandstand. Walked up, checked it out, never used it. It was one of those January trips where I wasn't using the pool anyway. Just take into account, though, it happened to me once. If you were staying and you were a pool person and you want to take, you're taking a 7-10 day trip, even if you're traveling overseas and you're going longer. If you're going to stay at Saratoga, if they put you in the carousel area, that section asked to be moved. There was no pool. There was no food. So your closest pool area is going to be the paddock. But if you're on the far end, so if you're coming through the main gate and you look directly to your left, that's the carousel area. There's nothing. So, and if you're on the far end of the carousel by the main entry gate, you're going to huff it all the way to the paddock. That's a pretty decent walk. So, and like you said, if you're like us, we rent a car. It wasn't the end of the world. I jump in my car, I drive over to the paddock, I park, and then I go to the pool. You're either going to huff it if you don't, or you're going to have to wait for an internal shuttle. Both stink, in my opinion. So,
Yeah,
but take that into account.
That's definitely one of the downsides of Saratoga Springs in that particular vicinity. But having said that, if that was the only room available, would that be a detriment to you to not stay there?
No.
Okay.
No, because, and I think, like I said, and I've never hit it. Saratoga is my favorite resort. I own 3 contracts at Saratoga for DVC, so it just tells you. And I'm not one of those people that buy it because it's cheaper to use somewhere else. If I'm not, I generally stay there. Okay, the last few trips I've been at Boardwalk, and that's because I have an internal fight with my family because they prefer Boardwalk over Saratoga. You know, and they feel a lot like you, Walt, is the proximity to Epcot, the Skyliner Studios is where they like to go. That's their draw. And they're my 2 favorite parks too. Mm-hmm. However, there is just something about, like I said, not to sound, cliche, like there's something about when I see and I pull up to that gate, welcome home at Saratoga, that's my home. That's my home in Florida. And that's where I feel the most comfortable. And like you said in the last episode on part 1, it gets knocked for the distance between the buildings, the distance between the carriage house. However, it's also a plus if you allow it to be a plus.
Mm-hmm.
It's very laid. It's that laid back atmosphere. It's very quiet at night. Mm-hmm. Because you are spread out. So if you're looking for a relaxing vacation once you get away from the parks, it should be on the top of your list.
Well, and since you mentioned that, I would agree. I also think it's one of the few resorts that you can actually go for like a late night stroll and just take a nice relaxing walk. It's very, very spacious and expansive. You also have, you can't do this late in the evening because they do close, but near the main pool area there, the Springs pool, you have Surrey rentals and bike rentals. So if you feel like having some fun and doing something like that, the property is so large that there are paths and sidewalks that you can take your Surrey or a bike. If you're a fitness person and you like to jog, or go for long walks.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of space there to do that at Saratoga Springs. So we've kind of talked about and touched on snacking and eating at the pool. We talked about Artist Palette. Now, Artist Palette does have a dining or a dinner menu, which is pretty similar to their lunch menu. But one of the things that we haven't talked about is a dining option at Saratoga, which is the Turf Club. Now, so basically, if you want to go to Saratoga and you want to just enjoy the resort, stay away from the parks for a day or two, you have all of those options there. You have the great pools, you have poolside, snacks, places to have lunch. But even aside from the proximity to Disney Springs, you also have a restaurant on property that is actually a pretty good restaurant. Is it a cracking your top 5 or your top 6 restaurants on property? Probably not. But it is a restaurant that doesn't get a lot of publicity or respect. And it's a very solid restaurant to have dinner at. Now, I haven't had dinner there recently. I've had dinner there many years ago. Ken, I think you may have had dinner there more recently than I have at the Turf Club.
Yeah, the last time we dined at the Turf Club, we've dined there twice. The last one would have been right before the pandemic. So it was, what was that? My trip was early 2020.
Okay.
Like you said, it wasn't bad. Is it anything to write home about? No. They had a really good salad there. Mm-hmm. And then they had a chicken breast that I had, average, nothing to write home about. But if you didn't want to leave property, or actually when I mean property, if you didn't want to leave your resort, then I guess you call it was an honorable mention.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll go, because you could generally, you didn't even have to, you could just walk up.
Right.
Very rarely were they full. The theme of the Turf Club, because it's on a golf course, it has that golf course theming to it. From the carpet to the furniture to everything, the aesthetics, everything is themed towards golf, which is fine. Mm-hmm. I don't really golf, but I do like that atmosphere. Someday I want to try, though. I really do.
Well, since we're on the topic,
we're
on the topic of that, I'm sorry to interrupt, but since we're on the topic, I did forget to mention earlier a place that you had lunch at, which was Chip and Dale's, which is their golf club snack. What would you call it? A snack bar or
a snack bar, snack shop? Yeah. Yep. It's funny because pre-pandemic, my wife and I were staying there, and this was before the refurbishment. We were hungry. We wanted something to eat, but like nothing, at Artist Palette, nothing was jiving. I was like, man, I just kind of feel like I want a sandwich or something, right? So I'm looking on the app, and I see this icon like directly behind the carriage house. And the carriage house is the main building where you check in, the Artist Palette, the Turf Club, which we were just talking about. And I'm like, where the hell is this? It's showing it on here. So I literally start walking around the back of the building, because now I'm like, I got to find out what this is, because it's saying it has a turkey club, which I love. And I'm like, it has sandwiches and drinks. And I'm like, well, where the hell is this? So I walk around, and sure as heck, the entrance to the Golf Pro shop, or actually would be entrance exit. To the right of that is Chip and Dale's. It's literally cut into the building. So if you're taking a break, if you're getting ready to hit the golf course, if you're coming off the golf course, you can go to Chip and Dale's. Mind you, you do not have to be a golfer. You do not have to have a reservation to order, eat. And they have a couple tables right outside Chip and Dale's too, to eat there. One time we picked up our food. I brought it back to the room. Our last time we dined outside, And both times we've had the turkey club. Both times it was very good. Comes with a bag of chips and you get a drink. They have a few other items on there as well. So if you're trying to, if you're there and you want to try something different, if you're looking for that hole in the wall, a little unique place that probably most people don't know about unless you are a golfer, directly behind the carriage house, Chippendales, you can't go wrong if you're looking for a good turkey club sandwich. And I'll throw it in there too, Walt. If you're looking for more adultish memorabilia, and many, many episodes I brought it up before, I go to the Lake Buena Vista Golf Club, the shop, almost every time I stay, even if I'm not staying at Saratoga. And it's right below the carriage house, right next to Chippendales. You can walk right in. You do not have to be a member. You don't need a reservation. And they have some really, really, really good merch in there. Nice polo shirts, hats, bags, you name it. My wife is a huge Jiminy Cricket fan. And they have it on, like the thermal coffee mugs. So she got Jiminy on that. She got them on a hat. They have them on bags. They have DVC golf shirts there. They have, brands from Adidas, Nike, all the name brands for golf. And it's good quality stuff. And it's not like gaudy. And I go in there every time, and there's maybe one person in there. So, so I've had some hats. It has like the D, and then it has like the little the golf pin with it. And okay, I'm faking out that I'm a golfer, but I like their merch though, because that's one of my hiccups with Disney is a lot of the merch, in my opinion, is gaudy. It's just like overdone and killed. Like I like subtle, like this shirt. There it is. It's just subtle. It's not it's not subtle. Throw it in your face. I do want to try it. I don't know if they will allow you in some of the other golf courses on property. I would like to stop in just to go see what they have, in regards to merch. So just check it out. So Chippendales, definitely recommend it. It's a little hole in the wall. And if you're looking for more adultish merchandise, less gaudy, check out the Golf Pro Shop at Saratoga, which is on the golf course of Lake Buena Vista.
Oh, absolutely. So with that in mind, we also have other dining options along Disney Springs, which offers you a tremendous amount of variety. We've dined there on several occasions. One of the restaurant now, of course, there's a walking path along Congress Park, which we mentioned in the previous episode, and there's a bridge that goes right across. That bridge actually lets out where formerly one of our favorite places to eat used to be located, which is no longer there, which is Wolfgang Puck Express, which was super convenient because you just walked across that bridge and it was right there. But like so many other things, it's that is no longer there. But there are many other options to eat there as well. My wife and I have eaten at Paddlefish. I don't know if you've ever eaten at Paddlefish, Ken.
No, I have not.
It is. It looks like it used to formerly was called the Fulton Fish House or Crab House, something like that. It looks like a giant paddle boat. It's located. I think it's still located in the marketplace. It's considered the marketplace. It's
it's right on that border there. Yep,
right on the border of that. So it's a little bit of a walk from that walking bridge from Saratoga Springs, but it's not that far. A large variety of seafood, very large menu, a lot to choose from. It'd be difficult not to find something on that menu that doesn't appease you. I had the cod when I was there, which was excellent. I believe my wife had a chicken breast. So it was very, very, very good food. It's a large restaurant, so it doesn't feel crowded. It's not like your typical Epcot type restaurant where you're right next to your other table that's right next to you. So there is plenty of room in there. Earl's Sandwich is also over there if you're not looking for a place that, in that restaurant type mode, if you're just in the mood for a sandwich. Ken, you've had Earl's Sandwich before, correct?
You know what? It's something that I forget about all the time. Yet I've eaten there 4 to 5 times. All the sandwiches are hot. I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. Like you said, if you're not looking for that sit down fancy meal, if you're just looking to get a good sandwich, a drink, and some chips, definitely try Earl's Sandwich. It is very, very, very good. I've got the Italian there several times. I've gotten the turkey there several times. Excellent. Never had a bad meal there. Have you ever tried that, Earl?
Yes, I have had Earl's. Yeah. I've had it for lunch. I have not been there for dinner. And the sandwiches are all excellent. Pretty large sandwich too, for considering that you're in Disney and you think you're going to get something a little bit smaller, but it's enough that if you could actually bring it back to your room and have it, finish it, on a different day, or in the evening or whenever, if you want to snack on something.
Well, it's funny, real quick, if I could slide it in there. You were talking about Wolfgang Puck Express, and it made me think, and then Earl's Sandwich, like how traditions, like you talked about earlier with traditions with your wife, what you like to do. Like our traditions used to be first night, every night, Wolfgang Puck Express, because you needed a reservation. And that time we weren't pass holders yet. So you didn't want to waste your hopper to go into one of the restaurants at Epcot or one of the parks, because you didn't want to waste your 3-day hopper. So it was Wolfgang Puck Express first night, every night. Last night was always Ghirardelli. And we used to travel late in the day, and in the summertime we changed because we got bit too many times by thunderstorms and then getting delayed in the airport. But we would used to eat, generally Earl's Sandwich was our lunch before going to the airport. So it's funny, it jogged my memory, but all of that has changed since COVID, and with Wolfgang Puck being closed, and then, just everything has just changed up a little bit. The routines get thrown off, but it jogs my memory. That's why I just wanted to throw it in there real quick. Yeah,
no, that's actually a good plan, actually, to go there and have lunch right before you head to the airport, because the airport dining options are kind of limited. I have not eaten at the current restaurant called Terralina. I did eat at Portobello, which was the name of that restaurant prior to the conversion to Terralina. I think we both have eaten there.
Yes.
I can't speak on the current restaurant and the current menu, so I can't give you a review of that. I can tell you that if it's similar to what Portobello was, it's a very good Italian option if you are looking for or craving Italian food while staying at Saratoga Springs. You can go right across and have dinner at Terralina. Ken touched on something else, which was Ghirardelli's. If you're staying at Saratoga Springs and you had dinner somewhere else, or you had dinner at Saratoga, and your sweet tooth is calling you, you can just walk right across, go over to Ghirardelli's, and have a tremendous variety of sundaes and ice cream over there. So that's always another option as well. Plenty of seating outside. Sometimes, if I'm not mistaken, Ken, that is right in that center area where there's usually, like, sometimes there's entertainment or shows or concerts going on.
Yep, you're correct.
So you can always catch something there if there's an event going on at that time, and sit there and have some ice cream. So that's just that particular area. If you want to kind of delve a little further down in Saratoga, in Disney Springs, you do have the AMC movie theater down there. You have House of Blues. You do have a Wolfgang Puck restaurant down there, which I I have not eaten at recently. I would not recommend. It is definitely not the same as Wolfgang Puck Express. So that one I would kind of stay away from. You have some children's options down there if your kids are into, you have the I'm drawing a blank there.
Rainforest Cafe.
The Rainforest Cafe.
And then its other one is it T-Rex?
T-Rex,
yes,
T-Rex. So you have those type of restaurants that if your kids are looking for something along those lines. Now, of course, you know what type of fare you're going to get at those restaurants. It's not, and not anything to write home about. But again, if that's something that makes your kids happy, that's really the reason why you're down there anyway. So,
did you ever try House of Blues, Walt?
I not recently. Many years ago, I did. I did enjoy House of Blues.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, since you mentioned that, I did also. I did have a dining experience at Raglan Road. Now, Raglan Road is not for kids. Now, some people would probably take offense to that, but my opinion of that place is it is more of an adult entertainment. It gets very rowdy there at night and loud, and the music and the show that goes on there. Not to say that it's not fun. It is if you're going there with a bunch of your friends and you're having some drinks. It could be a lot of fun. But if you're there, again going along our thought process, which was Saratoga Springs, if you're staying at Saratoga, Raglan, and you're there with your kids or your family, Raglan Road might not be your or should be your first option. But I have been there probably about a year and a half ago. I think I was there. So you definitely want to be thirsty when you get in there.
I have not tried, and I have you have dined there, and you have told me it's good but loud.
Yes,
and I have a couple friends that have dined there as well, and they have said the same exact thing. If you're looking to have a meal and have a good conversation with your partner, that's not the place. That's not the place to go. That's the place to go if you want to pound back a couple. But if you want to pound back a couple, then Raglan Road is the place to go.
Absolutely.
Quick question for you, Walt. I dined there actually during the pandemic. Polite Pig. Have you ever dined there?
I have not.
I think my wife said it was average. I thought it was very good. And unless something changed, you didn't need a reservation for Polite Pig. You go in, it was kind of like Wolfgang Puck. You go in, they give you the ticket, and then you go sit down and find a table. So it's like first come, first serve.
Okay.
And my experience was different because, back home in Jersey, we couldn't eat inside. We were eating out in parking lots and tents. All right. And when I went to Florida, I was eating inside at Polite Pig. And it was basically seating like Le Cellier.
Okay.
So it was one of the first times that I sat next to a stranger, and I was like, "Who are you? You're not from my household." But all kidding aside, I thought the food was good. I really did. If you like pulled pork and that type of meal, that type of food, then definitely try Polite Pig. They do have some seating outside as well. That has a good vibe. Boathouse. I tried the Boathouse in 2018 or 2019. I had a good meal. My wife was kind of on the fence. My wife is it's weird because when I'm home, I eat like a child. That's just how my palate is. But when I go to Disney, I find myself like, we have to go to all these fancy restaurants, and I try stuff that I just wouldn't try at home. Don't ask me why, because actually, you know what though? With everything going on in the world, I don't want to hear no more that Disney prices are so much different than everywhere else.
Yeah, I agree.
That is not, they are every place is in the ballpark of Disney now.
Yeah.
So that's what it doesn't
Especially
bother
if you live in the Northeast.
Oh yeah,
you can't complain. I mean, other parts of the country might be slightly different. If you live in the Midwest, it's definitely probably significantly different, but in terms of pricing. But if you live in the Northeast, like if you live in the Boston area, the New York area, and anywhere in the New Jersey area, you cannot complain. I don't want to hear you complain about Disney prices and what the restaurants are charging down there, because you go to a basketball game or a football game in this area and a hot dog or a sandwich might cost you $50. So, I don't want, like, I agree with you. I don't want to hear that, because as we mentioned in the previous episode, you found, you had at Ale and Compass a very reasonably priced meal. And you also had a very reasonably priced meal. You had Cape May Cafe with another reasonably priced meal. So again, we're not saying that Disney is super affordable, but it's certainly in line with a lot of the restaurants in certain areas that people live in the country, especially the major metropolitans.
Oh, absolutely.
Areas.
I totally agree, because a good friend of mine at work, we talk about the same thing, how people are like, oh, how do you go to Disney? It's so expensive. Oh, I could show you on the app what the prices are. In our last episode, we talked, I got an entire flatbread pizza from Ale and Compass for, was it $18?
$18, yeah.
Okay. I recently had lunch at a local place in town. 3 hot dogs, Walt, and a Gatorade. You know how much that cost me? $18.25.
Yeah. And the flatbread pizza was probably a lot better for you than those 3 hot dogs.
Yes, it was a lot better, and it was a lot better for you, and it was also a lot better.
Yeah.
Because like I said in the last episode, if you're staying in that area, definitely check out Ale and Compass. You can't go wrong.
Absolutely.
But back to what I was talking about, I did dine at the Boathouse. Cool ambiance there. I had a steak. Steak was good. My wife, I think she wanted shrimp, but it only came with like 2 or 3 pieces of shrimp. She was very disappointed. But people rave about the Boathouse. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was any place that I would rush back to. Would I try it again? Yeah. The Ampa cars are cool. I was actually going to do it because if you eat there, you get a discount. I don't know if they still do that, but it was still like over $100 to go on the Ampa car.
Yeah,
I was like, I'd like to. It's like a bucket list item. Like, I'd like to go do that, and then come up the coast of Saratoga coast. Like we're talking about the coast, but to come up, check out Saratoga and that, and Disney Springs from that perspective. I like to see that.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like you said, it's a it's a fun thing to do, but yes. I don't know, to blow $100 on that, I'd rather save that for dinner. So.
But I gotta say though, Walt, my favorite place to eat. Well, actually, I recently dined there. Chef Art Smith's. That was very good. That was very good. So if you're in Disney Springs, definitely check that place out.
Absolutely, yeah.
Did you eat at the Boathouse?
Almost. No, I have not. I've never eaten at the Boathouse. I almost forgot about Chef Art Smith's. Yeah. I've eaten there as well. The Boathouse I have yet to try. The only reason I haven't eaten there is because their seafood menu is significantly less options than oh geez, I can't think of the name of the
Paddlefish?
The restaurant. Paddlefish, thank you.
Paddlefish.
Yes, so the Paddlefish has a significantly larger menu than the Boathouse. So that's the only reason I've kind of stayed away from there, because my wife's not a big seafood eater. She usually only has scallops, and it just, if I'm going to have scallops, I'd rather have it at the Paddlefish. So,
you're forgetting something, Walt.
I'm sure I am. Go ahead.
You're forgetting a place that and correct me if I'm wrong, that you like to go to, Splitsville.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say I like to go there. Splitsville
Okay.
actually is one of those places that is a good late night option if you're coming back from the park and you're still a little, maybe you had an early dinner and you're hungry and you want to have a snack. They actually have a really good bar pie. My wife and I actually had a pizza there, and it was surprisingly really good. But that was before I experienced CityWorks, which is also right down a little further down from Splitsville. So if you're in the mood for something that's open till I think both Splitsville and CityWorks close at 11, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
They both close at the same time as Disney Springs. Both of those places are basically, they are what they are. I mean, you're getting bar type food. CityWorks a little bit better, a little bit more kind of like a TGI Fridays type menu, with a little bit more variety maybe than the Fridays. But again, those, you're also going a lot farther away from Saratoga. So if you want,
correct.
Yeah. So if you want to kind of stay near Saratoga within a reasonable walking distance of Saratoga, the restaurants that we mentioned earlier definitely would be better options for you.
Agreed.
So I think we pretty much have covered Saratoga. I think overall we would say that Saratoga is definitely on both of our lists for a family-friendly resort. Definitely on our list for a resort that if you're doing a predominantly resort stay or resort heavy stay as opposed to doing parks, it's definitely giving you the most options, or one of the places, one of the DVC resorts that gives you a lot of options for that type of a vacation stay. Anything else you'd like to add, Ken, about Saratoga?
One thing real quick before we jump into our final segment. You brought up pre-show. Saratoga has the room if they wanted to. And I actually should have, which made me think about it. In our last episode, we talked about some of the, resort information about the Walt Disney World Resort from D23. And one thing I did not bring up was I felt this way, along with other people felt this way, is that Disney talked nothing about expanding resorts or building more resorts. So you want to expand the parks, yet we're not talking about expanding resorts. So you were looking at the map, and Saratoga has room to expand. And
Yes.
You brought up the idea, so this is all you, about having maybe a building or adding multiple buildings and making a building concierge level that Saratoga currently does not have. I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah, I looked at the map, and I mean, again, I'm not an architect, and I don't know how the zoning, if there is such a thing as zoning down there, since they own their own property. But I assume they still have to file permits with Reedy Creek. But looking at the space that's available there's enough property in a couple of sections. The one section in particular by Congress Park, and another one a little further up by the grandstand, which would abut the golf course, or one of the greens on the golf course. There's enough land there that you could probably do a couple of similar sized buildings as the current buildings in Saratoga. And you could do an exclusive, like Ken mentioned, an exclusive, concierge level type building. It could be catered more towards DVC
And golfers.
As Ken has talked about many times before, and I've talked about, DVC members should not get the short end of the stick, and they seem to always get the short end of the stick. And they certainly they get very little preferential, or not as much, in my opinion, preferential treatment as they should get for the amount of money that they've invested into Disney. So in my opinion, I think that would be an awesome thing to do for DVC members, or just in general. If you're don't want to do it exclusively for DVC, you can also do it at just pay as you go type of a situation, where you have some sort of exclusivity to it, and as Ken mentioned, you can tie it into the golf course if you wanted to. You could tie it into, having access to that, having access maybe to, a private pool in that area that you can make just for that particular, and then have it similarly to what I experienced at Beach Club, where you have a concierge level that gives you an area where you can, similarly to the Polynesian, where you have, a building where you can get snacks and wine and that sort of thing, so it gives you a little bit of a perk.
Yeah.
And that does not exist right now, other than at the Beach Club. I don't think that exists anywhere, really, does it? I mean,
concierge level?
Yeah, I mean, I know Polynesian has a building that does offer that. I don't know if Grand Floridian does.
I believe they do, because beach yacht. I don't know. I don't think Boardwalk does. I know the Polynesian does. Believe it or not,
I don't think Old Key West certainly doesn't. Because
no,
they're
Old Key West does not. But you know what's shocking, Walt? You know who has a concierge level? And it's a moderate resort. Grand Destino Tower.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know if it's technically considered concierge level, but it has to be, because it's the same. I've seen video footage from people, photographs, just like you did. It was the yacht club side you actually stayed with, concierge level, right? Club level?
Yeah. No, it was Beach Club.
Okay. And they had all the foods out, the drinks out. I was like, wow. Okay, cool.
Oh, no. You're right. I apologize. You're right. It was Yacht Club.
Okay.
Right.
I was like, oh, maybe I'm wrong. You were there, not me.
No. You're right. It was Yacht Club. Yeah.
But yeah, so people, and I just recently saw it on Facebook. Somebody had a video of the club at Grand Destino Tower, and that's a moderate resort. So, because I was even taking. Go ahead.
How long do you think that would stay a moderate resort if it were in a different location? It wouldn't.
I think that would be the perfect resort, not jumping off topic, but real quick, to make the first ever moderate DVC resort. Turn that tower into it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they're all studios, but who cares?
But what I'm trying to say is, if that was on a Skyliner route, or if that was near, say,
you wouldn't touch it.
That would not be a moderate resort. That would be probably considered, one of their more premium resort.
Because think about it, that's what Disney's doing now, is that they're adding on to their existing resorts. They're not building new ones. Besides, Riviera was pre-pandemic. But what did they do with the Contemporary, Bay Lake Tower? What are they doing with the Polynesian, the new Polynesian Tower? They added on at Coronado, Grand Destino Tower. Mm-hmm. So Disney all of a sudden likes to build up.
Yes.
So, but you and I were there back in April. I stayed not in Grand Destino Tower, but I stayed at Coronado right before the pandemic. I like Coronado a lot. And if it was in a better location, it would be much more desirable than it currently is.
Yeah, I agree. So we're gonna wrap up this episode with a thought that I had a while ago. Actually, it's not a new thought, but it's a thought that I had that I shared with Ken, and he wanted me to bring it up on this episode. It's something that my wife and I, many years ago, thought, why doesn't Disney do this at Epcot, especially around the World Showcase Lagoon. One of the things that we really enjoy doing, especially after dinner, is usually walking around World Showcase Lagoon. And this is, once the fireworks are over with and everything, the place starts to clear out. And especially around the holidays, because a lot of the different countries have, Christmas themed decorations in their windows. And we would like to, we would walk around, take pictures and that sort of thing. And as we're walking, we always would say, they're really missing the boat here, because they could have either little stands or little areas, or even within the countries themselves, of places where you could get dessert, or you could get coffee. And we're not talking about alcohol, because there's countless places to get alcohol in Epcot during the day and even into the evening hours. But a place to just be able to just kind of take in, because as we've discussed before, World Showcase Lagoon is that area is a really under a good climate, is a really great place to go for a walk in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And it really has that Disney ambiance, that Disney vibe. You have the tiki torches that are lit up. You have all of the countries that are lit up. It just has a really, really strong Disney theming to it. And one of the things that we always looked forward to was taking that walk. And we always used to say, boy, we would love to have a place where we could have dessert or coffee, or, just experience maybe something from a different country that they might offer. Even like, for example, you have France over there, where you have the Le Crêperie that is open during the day, but at night they're closed. So everything is in lockdown at 11 o'clock.
Grandpa Disney.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, everything is just, so to me, I always felt like I'm more of a late night Disney person. I've always enjoyed late nights at Disney. Sometimes early mornings. But to me, it was one of those things that I always found to be lacking in especially in Epcot, because Epcot is more of a park that would be geared for that, as opposed to other parks. And just as a minor thing, like whenever we were in Magic Kingdom until the park closed, we would stop at the Main Street bakery and have ice cream. So we would sit there by the bakery and have ice cream and look at the castle. So if you were able to do that in Magic Kingdom in a very small way, why not have it in a much larger way and have it in Epcot, where, and again, Ken and I talked about this, okay, they're going to say, well, we're going to have, increased payroll costs because we have to employ more people. Well, you're talking about possibly little carts the size of, for example, the Joffrey's coffee cart at Epcot right now. So you're talking about maybe one or two people per cart, and you could have that spread out, or even you can even offer it to the countries and see if the countries want to stay open a little bit later, and have them offer something along those lines. Even have it where it's themed for a particular season. So if I agree with that. Christmas, you have more of a Christmas theme to your desserts. If it's, the summer, it's a different theme. So whatever, season you're in, if it's Thanksgiving or pre-Thanksgiving or Halloween, you have maybe like a more of a pumpkin type of a theming. But whatever it is, I just felt like, and I think it's an untapped revenue stream. I'm sure they've had, maybe they have never thought of it, but maybe they've had number crunchers that have said, it's not worth it. I don't know. But I thought personally it'd be a good idea. And Ken, I think you kind of agreed with me on this as well.
When you told me about the idea, I said we got to talk about it, because I love walking around Epcot at night, especially, I would say, after close, because they really don't kick you out. I mean, you really have to linger for someone to say, hey, you need to make your way to the gate. there's that ambiance. There's something about Epcot, and don't get me wrong, all the parks do it there, but that very low light, and you got your everything kind of lit up, that lighting, and if you're walking around all the other countries, and to have, especially we talked about pre-show, not only setting up little stands per country, but like you said, seasonal. Get the taste of those countries for their seasons, how they celebrate their holidays. Like we all have stuff at holidays here that we all grew up with, from desserts and stuff like that and coffees. Well, I want to experience somebody else's holiday and what they had at their holiday and what they drank. I think that would be cool. And we're, like we said, we're not talking about liquor. We don't want nobody to get rowdy. We want nothing to get out of hand. This is literally some kind of pastry, dessert, coffee, something on the lines of that. To sit down like, well, you've been to Europe. You go to Europe.
Yep.
Like, you have all of that outside where they love to sit outside and break bread and have their coffee and, some things that aren't good for you.
And cafe lifestyle in Europe is very prominent.
Yes. So why not bring it here? And you can expand, like you said, on revenue. Maybe it's a miss. Maybe they thought about it and says, well, but I think it would be a hit. I think your idea is great, and we should sell it to Mr. Bob Chapek.
He would probably charge us just to talk to him. So
I'm going to email. We're going around Chapek. We're going to the number 2 man. We're going to Josh tomorrow. Josh, this is what we want. We want it now. You're in charge of parks.
I was just going to say, he's in charge of parks, so he'd be the guy to talk to. Then it would be his job to pitch the idea to Bob. But, if you're going in line of succession, then it would be definitely would be.
We tell him, listen, you have a great idea. We don't need to tell Bob. Bob, listen, just send Bob the check.
Bob's just going to screw it up. So, yeah. You'd have to have fast pass for coffee.
Yeah. Walt, your latte will be ready at 2:00.
Genie lightning lane for coffee. But no, I agree. I think there's so many other, you could go along the lines of ice cream. Mm-hmm. You could go along the lines of chocolate. Yeah. There's so many different desserts. You had in France during the day, you have the crepes. You could have crepes. You could have, there's so many things you could try. Like you say, you go country to country, you go to Italy, you go to Morocco, you go to Germany, Japan. there's so many, just keep on going along those lines. And even if you didn't do every single country, even if you did maybe half of them, it gives you enough. And you could even you could come up with different ideas. You could even alternate, you could alternate, like, okay, for the first 6 months of the year, we're going to do these countries. And in the last 6 months of the year, we're going to do these other countries, whatever. The details you could hammer out, but I just think that the ability to stay open and to give people another option in the evening besides getting plastered, and just giving you that relaxed, let's go for a walk, let's go have, it. And it also gives you the opportunity to interact with human beings, because that's one of the things, in my opinion, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but I think that we're lacking is connecting with each other besides using our cell phones and staring into our phone constantly, is to be able to just sit around and talk and have conversations with family members and friends and meet up. And that would give you that opportunity as well. And we're not talking about, staying open till 1 a.m. or anything like that. But as long as you, if they would just stay open till, say, for example, midnight, which I don't think is outlandish to ask, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's, if you want to pick a number to have an hour to close, okay. But to close at 11, and honestly, it's really not even 11, because a lot of those food places that are open,
they're closed well before.
Yeah, it's before the fireworks they shut down. So, it's just a thought.
I love the idea. I love the idea. And you know what? We're trying to stop Grandpa Disney.
Yeah. We need to stop Grandpa Disney. We need to put we love Grandpa, but
Yes.
it's time for Grandpa Disney to relax a little bit.
No.
So. All right, Ken, I think this is a good place to wrap up. I think we covered quite a bit today, and we hope that our listeners and viewers get some good information and advice from what we gave them regarding Saratoga Springs, and we hope that they enjoy their vacation if they do decide to stay there.
Yep, I agree. Walt, good show as always.
Thank you. Likewise.
All right. Yep. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this edition of the Disney Resorts podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. For Walt Ramirez, I'm Kenny Hayes. Take care, everybody.
Have a good night.